So I'm back up in the lab today, and I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at a couple more items I got at that Boeing Engineer estate sale. I don't know if it'll fit in the camera shot here or not. It does. So we have a HP ColorPro Plotter, which I'm kind of excited to play with. Wanted to play with one of these for years, and I see them come up on eBay and they want way too much money. Never know the condition. I actually ended up with 2 total units. Not sure if those are in shot. They're really not. 2 of them. You may be able to see the price tag on here is $12. I was there on half price day, so I got both of these guys for $6. Or for 12 total, 6 each. Which felt like a great deal. But what really sealed the deal on this, let me set one of these aside, is the guy who had them was very meticulous. I have both of the original operating manuals for them, which is very nice. And we have this little box. And we'll see if I can get it in frame here. Plotter pins. And in this box is plotter pins. He made these little wood cutout pieces and glued them together and made this little frame for holding plotter pins. And it's got plotter pins in it. I have no idea if these are dried out. I have no idea if these are working. There's a little piece of paper here. Woo Color Incorporated, or View Color Troubleshooting Guide. So here is a troubleshooting guide for these pins. There's a couple more loose caps over here that I'll shake off. Anyhow, my assumption being that because these are all capped, the pins may actually still be good. I don't know that, of course. There's a selection of pins here. That's another green 0.7. But he made that little frame to hold them. Of course, got them into a little box. Everything he had was very well organized. He made all kinds of little holders and adapters to hold stuff. So given that the pins were there and there was an assortment of them, 2 plotters and the manuals, and it was $12 for the the whole set, I thought, what the heck? Let's go ahead and take a chance on it. So it's pretty dirty. The next thing, of course, is here. Is both of these have this carriage in them, although it's dirty. And the pins are in. I don't know if you can see in the carriage or not. Hopefully I'm getting this in frame. There's a little rubber cap that pushes up on the pin tips to keep them from drying out. Now these have been sitting Lord knows how long. I would imagine for quite some time. But again, there's a set of pins in that one, and there's a partial set of pins in this one. So I want for having to play with, this should be rather fun. Of course, the other 2 things they came with, it took a bit of digging to find these, was 2 of the power bricks. So this is the official power brick with the correct connector on it for these. So my assumption is that these have a built-in self-test. If I bring the camera up a bit, it's RS-232. There's a dip switch here. I can see 4 switches that are for setting baud rate, parity. There's some markings down in here that are really dirty. It's just got a lot of accumulated dust for setting baud rate, etc. But I'm really thinking I should be able to bring these up and do a self-test. At least that's the hope. I haven't actually looked in the little user's manual yet. We'll take a look here. So it looks like this printing was 1987. So these go back to the late 70s, based on the beige and everything that's, you know, from the era. So let's take a look. What you'll learn: plotter features, installing the graphics element cartridge. I don't know what that is. 1-4. So I haven't even cracked these open yet. An add-on cartridge is available. If you have purchased an HP graphics enhancement cartridge for your plotter, refer to Appendix C at this time. Appendix C. Draw arcs and circles. Well, how do you actually install the what's actually, that's interesting. So it's actually installed. Oh, it's here. Ha! The graphics enhancement cartridge. So see if we've got that in frame, and we do. So there's this little cartridge here. It's got a little release arm on it. And it's got this little cartridge with a pin header on it that plugs in. And gives you enhanced graphics. And only one of the 2 units has it, but I do have one of the cartridges. That's really sweet. So draw arcs and circles, outline and fill polygons, use 14 more character sets, including ISO. It gives an extended RS-232C handshaking and IO buffer. So, and of course it's HPGL to talk to it. But that's really sweet that one of these has that cartridge on the bottom. If they don't work, I'm hoping that between the two, I can get one that works. Again, this is the, I want to play with it. I'm not sure practically, you know, what practical value it has. So I'm reading here, looking for self-test or recommended pins for demo plot. Hold the carousel, insert the pins. Loading paper or transparency. So there's an 8.5 by 11 or a 210 by 297 millimeter setting on the dip switches back here. Yeah, it's switch to US and then A4 on the other side. So performing the demonstration plot. So let me plug in some power here, and we'll power this up together, and hopefully there won't be smoke and flames from failing electrolyte caps. Or it's got this piece of stiff copper wire here that he's using as a to keep the cord organized. So let me plug this in. This power connector can only go in one way. I hear a noise. And it does, there it goes. Well, it did something. That was exciting. Very cool. Well, see, there's a paper load button. So let me go find some paper, and we'll come back and give this thing a play. Well, with some paper in hand, let's see if we can load a sheet of paper. So let's see, to load a sheet of paper, let's see, I'll go back and read here. Lay on the platen, placing the papers alongside against the platen's left rail. Slide the paper back until the ridge of the paper is flush. Is flush with the white line on the platen. There's a white line right there. Press the load button. Sweet. Well, we saw it grab the paper and do its thing. Before starting the plot, make sure pins, carousel, and a sheet of paper are loaded. Hold down the enter button and press the load button. So, well, that pin has a little bit of life in it. Well, that's pretty amazing. Who knows how long this has been sitting collecting dust. It's now cycling around to purple pin, doing a filled bar. And the pin is very dead. Well, that's still pretty cool to see this thing wake up after who knows how many years sitting idle. And actually draw. Yeah, I'm not surprised these pins are worn out. Rotated to a blue pin. Or this pin's actually got ink in it. That's sweet. And yellow, which actually is writing. We have a set of stacked bars. Black is back. The black pin is very nearly dead. So, according to this, the demo plot will appear as in. It did look a little bit different. So yeah, with the graphics enhancement in, it fills. Does a slightly different demonstration. Create a little XY graph. It's plotting lines on it. It's picked up brown. Successful presentations use graphics on overhead transparencies and in reports. It'll be interesting to swap these pins out with the pins I find in the box that have had the caps on rather than just sitting in those little rubber cups in the pin holder. Well, a couple of the pins look like they're okay. And it's done, I believe. Do we unload now? How do we unload? I don't know. Because it's got a death grip on the piece of paper. Let's see. So that starts it. Look and see if there's a page in here. Okay, just pulling it loose. So, I don't know how much of that you can read. But we got a plot, so I will open up the box of plotter pins. And there are some black ones in here. I will take this dead black one and replace it with hopefully a good black one. Trying to do this, of course, on camera. And it used purple, which I think was this pen. Yeah, the nibs on some of these are really nasty. I can't tell if that's purple or brown. That's the purple, which we believe is dead. Is there another purple floating around in here? There's some blue. I still believe that's blue. No, that looks like it's right. The yellow and green look okay. Now let's give that a play. Seem to be the two primary pins it uses. And we'll run one more print. So we bring the paper. Obviously I didn't unload it correctly. Paper against the left side up to the white line. We load. And we demo again. See if this black pin's any better. Got a nice sharp point to it. Yeah, that's much better. And we'll let this run again. Yeah, the old pens, some of them were so dried out that the little tip on them was actually flaking apart as it drew. Hopefully we're getting this on camera. And we are. That green. Yeah, the stack bars are much more obvious now. The yellow is very light, but I would expect that. It's on a white paper. Back to the black. I remember about 1979 or 80 seeing my first plotter. It was a Tektronix large bed, and it was really beautiful and fun to watch. I'd never seen a live plotter before. It would have been on Hill Air Force Base. And it was just really cool. It was fun to watch it draw. That brown pin could be replaced. That's good. The green P3. pretty shot. Looking for a replacement for the green. The nibs on most of these are just, there's a good sharp one. Replace the green with that. Making progress. So we're going to take this P3 out. Then it's dried up and very dead. And we'll substitute this in for it. And the other one is that brownish red, which might be this one. And it is. And it's not particularly happy. Find one that looks usable. And we'll try a third time. Well, I should actually show you that plot it did. The second one is much better than the first. You can see this, it doesn't always power up when I hit the power button. There's something up with it. So there's the first plot. And here's the second plot. You can see it's already, just with better pins, it's made a huge difference. We'll go ahead and run the demo a final time. Hopefully a final time. And see how good a plot we can get. It's interesting to watch where it positions the paper as it does various things with the pins. Like when it swaps them, moves the paper to center, then does the swap. You know, just looking at the quality of the what it's writing here, it's actually, it's, you know, working very well. Let's see if we get a better. Broken ground. That's better. Not sure what these graphs are really telling us, but that's okay. Well, it has got very precise handwriting. Yes, this was the pre-PowerPoint when you made your transparencies for the overhead projector. I do remember transparencies and overhead projectors. Puts the pin away, and it's done. So there's the final, where we started with the dead pins. Don't know how much of this is in frame. And the final is not bad. The yellow's pretty light here, but I would expect it on a white page. You know, not bad for $6. Something fun to play with. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed watching the little first power up and play here with this little HP plotter, this little ColorPro plotter, and we'll talk soon. Bye. So at this point, with the plotter confirmed working, I thought I would take a look at what it'll take to do a bit of a teardown on this guy. I'm guessing these screws here potentially hold the case together. I guess we'll kind of figure it out as we go along. See if I can get the little ROM cartridge to release like we did earlier. Wow, why can't they get that to release? Get that out of the way. It looks to me like there's two screws to hold this together, and the top will then hinge off. Huge self-tapper into plastic. Doesn't speak tons to quality when it's not a brass insert, but just a huge self-tapper into plastic. But I'm sure this was built to a price. Now it looks like this tilts forward and pulls away like that. It gets us a nice view down inside. I'm going to blow some of the dust out of here. A little bit nasty. Should probably take this outside and blow it out. I'll pause the video and come back in a minute. Well, that's certainly better than it was. Let's take a look what we can see here. So, looks like there's a stepper motor. It doesn't feel like a stepper motor, actually. Yeah, it's not a stepper motor. So we can see on this motor here that drives the pin mechanism back and forth. There's this metal box here. Hopefully that's somewhat in shot. Metal box here that I suspect might have some kind of maybe optical encoder in it, maybe, for sensing position. Feels like there's a limit switch, perhaps. There's a limit switch on this side down in here. Oh no, so that isn't a limit switch. That actually releases the plat in here to turn the pins. There's another one of these here, and it looks like the same motor that's driving the paper here. So that it's some kind of a. Hopefully this is in shot. It's some kind of a, I think it's probably a DC motor of some sort, with some kind of control mechanism, servo or something. There's a couple of SGS L20801s that I'm guessing might be H-bridge drivers, perhaps, for those two motors, though I don't know that. There's a SGP 85132. It's not a part number I recognize. 40-pin dip. That might be a microcontroller. And not a hell of a lot else in there. A couple of filter caps. What is probably a ROM. It's got a paper label across the top of it. And there really isn't much else in there. A couple of pieces of TTL, it looks like. Oh, maybe those are TTL. National parts. They are house branded with HP part numbers, it looks like. A couple more national parts, 86 date code. Again, they've got HP part numbers, it looks like, on them. I mean, there's not a whole lot to this. Really not a whole lot. Ribbon cable. Kind of a standard little membrane keyboard. Sorry about the squeak there. Maybe we'd give it a run with the top of the cover off. Might be able to see a little more what's going on inside. Goes on like so. It looks like it moved to both limits to I guess decide where the limits were for the carriage. Load the paper, which is loaded, and it's basically going to be what we saw before. Just have a little bit more view of the inner workings, and there's really not a whole lot to see here. There's a little bellows back here. That's interesting. Tilt it up. There's a little bellows back here that's controlling the pin lowering and coming up. And I don't know if it's actually using a bit of vacuum. It's almost got to be. There's like I say, a little rubber bellows there. That I wonder if it's using vacuum to set the pin down. That would be an interesting mechanism. A little bit funner to watch with the case open. I'll tilt it up here. Hopefully you can get a little better view of what's going on. So back here, maybe you can see this little bellows that's being drawn in and out. Not exactly sure how that works. Don't know that it's vacuum. Of course, this long arm here, it's moving up and down to move the pin up and down. And of course, the motor mechanism over here, which is driving the tooth belt there. Not a whole lot else to see here. It's really pretty simple inside. I'm really not going to do any further teardown on it. I just don't see the need for it. Looks like it gets a pretty good grip on the piece of paper. It's got it pinched on the top and bottom between some rubber rollers, and then to, of course, drive it back and forth on the x-axis. Put the pin back, and it's completed the plot. Well, So you can manually drop the pin here. Trying to figure out what that is, how that mechanism works. That's really interesting, and it's got, like I said, that rubber bellows. You can drive the paper around. That's entertaining. So I can bring the paper over to about here. I can move the pin. Let's change the next pin if I hit the pin color. Oh, it will. Come back to the same spot. I can lower the pin and draw a line manually. We just added the red line. They're under presentations. That's entertaining. You can, of course, hold two buttons down at a time, it looks like, and create diagonals. I'm sure I can't go both directions at once. I wonder how I release the paper. Got to be a way to return the pen. I think I've locked it up. No. Boy, that pen's seen better days. Do I have a paper towel here? Of course I don't. The eternal battle. Never have what I need handy. look at each one of the nibs, or whatever you call that part of the pin. Some of them are really crusty and dirty or bent. That one's actually pretty abused. So if I turn it off, see if it'll put the pin back when I turn it on. That's interesting. I guess it has no way of knowing it has a pin loaded or not. That actually doesn't surprise me. Well, I will play a bit more with it here, and hopefully it'll be somewhat entertaining to watch. Let's go get a pen. Let's lower it. And we'll draw a diagonal. We'll change the pen. Hit the limit. Orange pen has seen better days. Let's see if we've got one that draws a little nicer. That one probably does. We'll substitute in this orange. And I'll go ahead and drop. We're back all the way around the black. Wonder how I return the pen. Sure there's a way to do it. Well, I pulled it off somehow there, but anyhow, it unloaded. So there's a few lines drawn manually using the little keypad. Oh boy. So anyhow, there was a internal view with the top off of what's going on. So hopefully there was something fun to watch there. We'll talk soon. Bye.